Welcome everyone to the Chris Parrish podcast. My name is Chris Parrish. How are you doing? We are here with episode 108, Parrish the Thought. But first, let's get rid of that housekeeping. Let's say thanks to everyone who has helped with this podcast, and that is Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. And if you want to go to turnbucklestudios.org today, you can go and check out our amazing website. And if you want to hit /join, that is your gateway of seeing if you want to become a part of our team and become a part of what we do. I also want to give a shout out to Beercade YEG, located here in Edmonton, Alberta, at 105 82nd Ave, and they are the home of all free showings of WWE, PLEs, and AEW pay-per-views. And sometimes they just absolutely go all out. I'm just kidding. They always go all out, and they're the proud sponsor of the Chris Parrish our podcast, and I thank them, love them. Thank you guys. What are we all doing? I hope you're going to my link tree down there. That's right. You'll get all my links, whether it's on my platforms or even to the Spotify, where you can check out the Chris Parrish podcast. I just hope you're giving a like, a follow, subscription, a rate of the episode, all that good stuff, because all that does help the show, and I appreciate it so very much. You'd be shocked of how many people watch the show but don't actually follow. So if you can, takes 2 seconds, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Now you might be asking me, what do you mean Parrish the Thought? What does that mean? Well, what it means is simple. I am going to give you my thought of the state of the WWE and how it goes into 2026. What I feel some of the big moments are, who's going to win some of the major matches, like a Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, King and Queen of the Ring, so on and so forth. So let's just dive into it, because that is what we do, and that is what is fun about this show. We have CBRS Entertainment coming in saying, howdy, Mr. Parrish, how's it going? How are you doing today? Thanks for joining the show. Appreciate you, my friend. Obviously, we are just 10 days away from 2026. Yeah, that's right. 10 days left of 2025, people. So it's going to go fast. It's almost long gone. But we do have one more episode of this show before the end of the year. So make sure you want to check that out. We'll talk about that later. But we have, at the end of January, the first PLE of WWE, and it's called the Royal Rumble. One of everyone's favorites. And I'm also going to say this, and I'm going to preface this by saying, if you want to give me your predictions and you want to talk about what you think could happen in 2026, drop it in the comments. Let's be active. Let's have a good time. But let's start this out. Right there at the Royal Rumble, I expect at the very least 3 NXT men and 4 NXT women to be a part of the men and women's Royal Rumble match. You might say, who are the men? I'm going to go with All Ego Ethan Page, Obafemi, and Javon Evans. And the reason why I picked those 3 is simple. You can tell that WWE is very high on all 3. Obafemi got that extreme opportunity as he took on Cody Rhodes at Saturday night's main event, as well as Javon Evans, who's been featured on Raw, SmackDown, some like Saturday night's main event. He's been going at TNA for a little bit. He's been featured quite heavily, and you can tell WWE is very big on this guy. And another one for Ethan Page is I believe that he is going to be somebody that you could see main roster bound come 2026. I do think it's just a matter of time before he drops that North American Championship to someone. And I don't think they have to drop those AAA mixed tag team titles. In fact, I think he brings that along with him as he reconnects with Chelsea Green and goes forward with that storyline. As for the women, this one is a little interesting because obviously, I think with the Royal Rumble being in Saudi Arabia, you might not see as many returns or debuts per se. But I do think they're going to dip into the NXT pool to help out with a little bit of surprises. After all, we are in a new era, right? I think that's like the third time we've heard this from WWE. Chris Best is coming in saying Javon Evans had a hell of a match against Jack Cartwheel and Laredo Kid last night, too. Yes, but we will get to AAA maybe next week. I haven't fully watched that whole show yet. As for the women's, though, I do think we are going to see 4, and those are JC Jane, Jordan Grace, Kendall Gray, and Sol Ruka. I do think all 4 of those women are going to have an opportunity. As we saw a good chunk of NXT participation in this year's Royal Rumble in February. I mean, we still had Stephanie Vacure, part of NXT. We saw Jada Parker. We saw Julia. Jordan Grace made her debut. And yes, even though she was not assigned to anywhere, it was believed that it was going to be NXT from the get-go to begin with. And then I believe we saw Lash Legend as well. So that was 5. So I think we're going to get at least 4. And the 4 I just said. And the reason is obviously Sol Ruka is very high in WWE in the sense of wanting to see what she's going to be able to do. She had that match at Saturday Night's Main Event with Bayley. And I think Saturday Night's Main Event, the NXT individuals who are selected, I think those are extremely high possibilities of who's going to be perhaps on the main roster either this year or 2026. Clearly, this is wanting to see just how they do, but it's also an evaluation period. I can definitely expect that. So with that, I do think Kendall Gray in that same light is also somebody WWE is very high on. Standout from Evolve. She is a current women's champion. She does face JC Jane for the NXT championship at New Year's Evil, as she was the female Iron Survivor winner. And then, yeah, obviously, when I say JC Jane, I think that's somebody that has been just rolling. Probably her best individual year was this year. She not only won the NXT Women's title not once but twice, but also became TNA Knockouts champion. I was the first ever woman to hold both a TNA and WWE Women's Championship at the same time. So you might be asking, who do I have winning the Royal Rumble? And I'm going to start you off with the women. And I think it's actually, both my selections are very obvious. For the women, I have Liv Morgan. And I have Liv Morgan for the sole point of looking at where she was heading before she was hurt, was on the rise. She was there almost about to have a feud with Nikki Bella. Obviously, she gets hurt. That goes sideways. That was supposed to set up either a singles or a tag match at Evolution. She came back to help Dominic Mysterio regain the Intercontinental Championship against John Cena. And now we've been seeing her kind of step up into more of a leadership role for the Judgment Day. now that the Judgment Day have 3 women on board, it seems like it's focusing a lot more on the women of the group, as it should. They're all fantastic. But I think Liv Morgan can only be perceived as a leader for so long. But if she's to win something major, like a Royal Rumble match, that just puts her over the top. Especially if you were to do some more stuff with the Judgment Day moving forward, having that validation that somebody in the Judgment Day is doing something very well. Kind of like you look at the Judgment Day when they were doing well when Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley were world champions. You're going to look at them pretty much a high regards if Liv Morgan is your current Royal Rumble winner, going on to quote unquote main event WrestleMania and get a championship opportunity. As for the men, this is where I think it gets dicey because I think we're going to see a very large amount of star power once again in the Royal Rumble match. But simply based on just how Saturday night's main event ended, kind of this new direction with WWE, if Gunther continues to become a hated villain, you have to look at his trajectory towards WrestleMania. And I can't think of a better way than have Gunther win the men's Royal Rumble match. That's right. The reason I love to see Gunther do this is because I think he makes a lot of sense if he's the one to dethrone Cody Rhodes for his championship. And let me expand on that, because if he is taking the career away of John Cena, retiring John Cena, getting the heat for that, saying goodbye to sports entertainment and welcoming back the pro wrestling era, what better way than to go after the fans' current golden boy, the guy who John Cena looked to pass the torch from, and that is Cody Rhodes. I think it would be such a villainous way for Cody Rhodes or for Gunther to grab a championship. And let's not forget, Cody Rhodes got to WrestleMania for the first time in the main event by defeating Gunther at the end of a Royal Rumble. That's right, it's San Antonio Royal Rumble. It's Cody Rhodes and Gunther. And it was Cody Rhodes getting victorious there. And we haven't really seen these two that much outside of a crown jewel match to determine the first crown jewel winner. We haven't seen Gunther and Cody Rhodes, and Gunther has yet to get that win. And I think this is where you give Gunther a win against Cody Rhodes. And this takes us to the Elimination Chamber, which is live from Chicago. And I believe that's in February, the end of February. I want to say the 28th, but I'm not sure. I don't know who's all going to be in these Elimination Chamber matches. I don't even know if any of them is going to be for a championship or for a number one contendership. All I do know is I'm going to just pick the winner of a men and women's. And it kind of goes to show what I think then is going to be. For the men, I am choosing Braun Breaker. I have Braun Breaker winning the Elimination Chamber and going to WrestleMania as a number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, do I think CM Punk is going to be champion by then? Yes. Do I think he is the champion by WrestleMania? No. I also feel Braun Breaker is the next major star in WWE, and I think WWE is going to waste zero time and push him to the moon in 2026. The proof was there with John Cena. The proof was there with Roman Reigns. If you do it right, it works. And for the women's, I have Stephanie Vicaire defending and retaining her women's world title in Elimination Chamber. I do think this is where we may see somebody return and challenge. And I wouldn't second guess that we could see a returning Bianca Belair to challenge Stephanie Vicaire moving forward after that for that world title. And I think that is a completely new and refreshed look over that championship. And then we can either have Liv Morgan go to SmackDown, or maybe, just maybe, we do not see Bianca Belair and we go to Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vicaire at WrestleMania. Either way, I don't think we lose as fans. Now, if you want to ask me who I feel are going to be the world champions, or even all the champions out of WrestleMania, I didn't write that down. In fact, I'll show you. I did write stuff down. So let's have some fun. Let's have some fun predicting who I think is going to leave WrestleMania as the current champions. As your women's world champion, let's go with Liv Morgan. For your women's WWE champion over on SmackDown, I'm going to keep Jade Cargill. For the Intercontinental Champion, based on what I saw on X around AAA last night, I'm going to go with Chad Gable. For the Women's Intercontinental Champion, I'm going to go with Io Sky. For the United States Champion, which is currently held by Ilya Dragunov. Yeah, we know what happened on the spoilers, but we're not going to talk about them until Friday. I'll say your United States champion at the end of WrestleMania, Trick Williams. Your women's United States champion, Chelsea Green. She ain't going to lose that anytime soon. And then for your tag team champions, I have on the men's side on Raw, the World Tag Team Champions. I'm going to go with the Usos. The WWE Tag Team Champions over on SmackDown, I'm going to go with the MFTs. And then as your women's tag team champions, I think we're going to have them. I think we're going to see them on the Judgment Day, and Raquel and Roxanne walk out of WrestleMania as the new women's tag team champions. Now we're just mere days away from Christmas, and let me tell you something. I know more than anything, shipping and handling is not a fun thing to deal with. In fact, it's very frustrating. And I can't say if you order anything right now, you're going to get it by Christmas, because you know what? You're probably not going to. So I'm not going to lie to you. But if you still want to get some gifts for your loved ones, please, what a better way to go to carlcarafel.redbubble.com and to go and pick out a t-shirt, phone case, hat, a pillowcase, whatever the case may be, but slap one of the logos of any show that is featured on the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program right there. So if you want a little bit more information, check out this video.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at carlcarafel.redbubble.com.
That's right. Down there, right on the ticker down below, you see carlcarafel.redbubble.com, and you can go and check out that website and see if there's something there that excites you and that you want to be a part of. Also, it'd be awesome to walk out the streets and see somebody with the Chris Parrish Podcast hoodie, Chris Parrish Podcast t-shirt. In fact, my 2-year-old son was rocking one yesterday. They look pretty good. I'm just saying, you might want to get one. Next up, we have the King and Queen of the Ring. Now, you might be asking me, do I think they're going to go back to creating new stars or have more established stars? Because what we saw in February with the Rumble, we saw Jey Uso win the Royal Rumble in 2025. We saw Seth Rollins win the Money in the Bank in 2025. As we have Peppermint Queen coming in, and it's Bears. It's Katie. Oh, sub to you. Thank you so much for doing so. I appreciate that very much. Everybody, you can also check her out and all her stuff that she does as well, because we show love to the people that show love to us. So thank you very much for that sub. I appreciate it. And if more people want to do that, it's free, people. Free. Doesn't cost you anything. Doesn't even cost an arm and leg. You get to keep both. So we're at the King and Queen of the Ring, and whether or not I think they're going to go with established superstars or we're going to go with something new, who's to say? But right now, I'm kind of going to go with kind of a mixture of both, because they're new in terms of never won it before, but they're established in the fact that they've been in WWE for quite some time. For the Queen of the Ring, I'm going to go with the Genius of the Sky, Io Sky. I have as your Queen of the Ring winner in 2026. And the reason I do that is because with this added stipulation back in, and that the winner of the King and Queen of the Rings get a title shot at SummerSlam, I do think we're going to see a little bit of star power added to this. And that's why on the King of the Ring, I'm going to go with the one that everybody's saying, the megastar, L.A. Knight. And for one, maybe we just call him L.A. King. Yeah. See what I did there? If you're a hockey fan, you get it. But I think in 2026, we are going to see something for LA Knight. And I think a King of the Ring is the best spot for him. Now, originally, I would have loved to see Dominic Mysterio become the King of the Ring. And a reason why is because he's already stating he's the greatest luchador, he's the greatest Mysterio. But is he the king of the Mysterios? Is he the king of the mystery? No, that would be his father, Rey Mysterio. But if he was King of the Ring, now he is the King of the Mysterios. So it writes itself. But I just don't think 2025 is the year for Dom in terms of going into a world championship feud. I think 2025 is the year for Dominic Mysterio to get into world championship feuds and become a main eventer. And then in 2027, that is when we pull that trigger on Dominic Mysterio. Because I do believe 2026 is Braun Breaker's year. And I do think you have to be very specific on that. Now, can you go both? Sure. I just don't think they will. And yes, I do think EO would be amazing. Not for King, but maybe using Event, yeah. I do think LA Knight versus maybe a Gunther at a SummerSlam makes a lot of sense based on the fact that they were the finals of the John Cena last time is now tournament. And then we would have Io Sky versus whoever a champion is. Think about whether it's a Liv Morgan, could be a Rhea Ripley, could be Jade Cargill, it could be whoever. I know what you meant. I just wanted to do my thing. But yeah. Next up, and I'm going to go a little bit out of order just to kind of create a little bit more of. Let's just get away with WWE for a second, and let's go into the NXT world. No, I didn't go Liv Morgan for Queen. I went Io Sky. I'm saying when you win Queen of the Ring, you get a world title shot at SummerSlam, and that could be against somebody like a Liv Morgan. My second choice was actually Roxanne Perez for Queen of the Ring, and I think Roxanne Perez versus Io Sky could very well be your main or your final match for Queen of the Ring. Whereas I think I'll go LA Knight. I'll go LA Knight versus. Who would be a great opponent for LA Knight, a King of the Ring? Let's go with LA Knight versus Solo Sikoa. But let's go to NXT for a little bit. Let's go to the Iron Survivor winners. This year, we saw Evolve Women's Champion Kendall Gray become the Women's Iron Survivor Champion. We also saw Javon Evans win the Men's. So let's go with who I believe could become the 2026 Iron Survivor winners. Now, I don't know if you guys have been noticing a trend in NXT, but JC Jane was a side piece to Total Attraction, as Mandy Rose was the women's champion. JC Jane then became the main attraction, part of Fatal Influence, and became NXT champion and was a leader of that group just like Mandy was. We didn't know during the Toxic Attraction who was going to be the standout between Gigi Dolan or JC Jane, but we just knew one of them will be. I think it's pretty obvious who's going to be the standout in Fatal Influence, and that is Fallon Henley. The former Women's North American and current Women's Speed Champion is my selection to become Iron Survivor in 2026. I'm a big supporter of Fallon Henley. I think she has star potential. And I do think we are going to see the rise of Fallon Henley in 2026, capped off with an Iron Survivor, and that then allows her to become NXT Women's Champion. Do I think this involves maybe her and JC Jane feuding at some point? Yes, I do. Because I think at some point we see JC Jane moved up to a Raw or SmackDown, and she doesn't want to take anybody with her. And that leads to a breakup of Fatal Influence and then Fallon Henley. Maybe she does something and has her own group, or maybe she just goes and does her own thing. But Fallon Henley, I think, goes there. Plus, at some point, can we just be honest and say we do want to see a Jensen, like a Brooks and Jensen reunion? Just for one night at very least. For the men, I kind of went back and forth with this one. But somebody that I kept circling around was someone who I do think will be in NXT for another year, maybe year and a half. It's somebody that we've been seeing for a good part of 2025, given opportunities to step up. He had a match with Obafemi for the NXT title and had a very great showing with Obafemi. He had a very, very good showing in this year's Iron Survivor. I am picking Miles Bourne to be your 2026 Iron Survivor winner. I think at some point, Miles Bourne is going to become the face of NXT on the men's side. Where I think kind of NXT goes in that frame, I don't know. Because as we know, people can move up, people could leave, new people could show up. And that's where it gets completely hard to predict. But I do have Miles Bourne, Fallon Henley as your Iron Survivor winners in 2026. So I think that's going to be just very intriguing to watch. If you don't watch NXT, I think you should. It's been absolutely just kicking serious ass, whether or not it's Ethan Page just going nuts. Jericho is not going to win an NXT match in 2026. Chris Jericho is not going to be NXT. We could be talking about Chris Jericho a little bit later. But right now, why don't we get to a little bit of what you can see in 2025 and 2026, and that is the amazing content that the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program gives to you every week. So I'm not going to lose breath and talk about it all. I'm just going to show you guys so I can save my breath for the final bits of my predictions.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. Monday nights you get the Locker Room Breakdown at 7 p.m. Eastern, followed by the Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Eastern. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thursday we go TNA when we brace for Impact at 7:55 p.m. Eastern. Friday we secure all details as we answer the call for the SmackDown security detail at 8 p.m. Eastern. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. Eastern. On Sundays be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. Eastern, followed by the Boar's Nest at 8 p.m. Eastern. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day.
And the one thing that you guys can always do is check out the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program and the Turnbuckle Studios platforms, whether or not you want to go to the turnbucklestudios.org website or just follow all of Turnbuckle Studios on all the platforms, whether it's Kick, YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. Those are your main ones to go and follow for all the things. We are showcasing the Chris Parrish podcast live on the YouTube Turnbuckle Studio channel. So if you want to go and sub to them, that would also be fantastic. And yeah, you can check all those amazing shows right there. I do believe that they have everything nice and organized now. You can also go to that turnbucklestudios.org to watch all the latest episodic shows. So if you just want to say, hey, you know what? Right now I want to see what you just did. There you go. Because right on the webpage is direct links to their latest shows. And obviously, the only one that you don't see on the weekly calendar are PLE patrols. Obviously, they're not every week, but they are a part of Saturday nights, usually Saturday nights or Sunday nights shows. So always check that out as well. I'm saying, just want to see Jericho. We all want to see Jericho. But if you hold up your walls for a little bit, I'm sure eventually they will be broken down in 2026, as well, I think we all can predict Chris Jericho is going to be in the WWE in 2026. It's just a matter of time. As we have Mavis coming in saying hi. Hello, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining in. We're talking wrestling. It's what I love. And I am predicting how I think WWE is going to go in 2026. Why? Because I'm just built that way. Next up, we have, I think, everyone's favorite, and that is Money in the Bank. And this is one, thank you for saying that. This is one that I'm very intrigued with because, again, just like King and Queen of the Ring, just like the Royal Rumble, do we go with new or established talent as our winners? Well, I got one that's new-ish, and I have one who's slightly established, but just like LA Knight, not in the main event scene. For the men, I have Aleister Black becoming Money in the Bank. Why? Because if you guys have not noticed lately, we have been seeing a rise in Aleister Black, whether it's doing more profiled feuds, going towards more of the profile main eventers, but now having his wife Zelina Vega join him, and you see this intrigue and invested kind of time given to him that allowed Rhea Ripley to come over and reconnect with Damian Priest. Think about how you had to have the right story for that to happen because they just didn't want to throw it together. And WWE did not want to do that with the Judgment Day. So it had to be very specific. Damian Priest over on SmackDown needed somebody, and there was Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley is still considered one of the biggest female draws in WWE. So that was a pretty big deal in terms of the usage of Aleister Black. I do think Aleister Black is primed to have one of his best years in WWE in 2026. For the women, I'm going with someone who's Irish descent. Yeah, you might know who I'm talking about. I'm going Lyra Valkyria. The very first women's intercontinental champion She's a former tag team champion, as we have Star 3 Fan Gaming coming in on YouTube saying, hey, oh, how are you doing? Thanks for joining in. And if by the way, if you haven't subbed to the YouTube channel, I would ask, please. It would be very nice. But Lyra Valkyria strikes me as someone that needs something right away. I know that she has a tag team with Bayley, and yes, I do want to see that go through. I want to see if they become tag team champions, as we know that they were put together kind of last minute at the end of 2024, kind of going in, or really at the beginning of 2025, going into WrestleMania, only for Bayley to be attacked on the SmackDown before WrestleMania. And then that ended up being Becky Lynch. We got Becky Lynch and Lyra for a bit, only then we didn't. And then we had the Intercontinental title involved between Becky and Lyra. And then we finally got Bayley coming back, and we didn't know if Bayley was going to become psychotic or not, as she had that personality change. But Lyra seems to kind of be the Jekyll to the Hyde, or however you want to put that. But she seems to be the one who is in control of Bayley's good and bad side. So I think that's going to eventually lead to a tag team title opportunity. So that's going to be... I have actually followed or paid attention to your channel a little bit there. But yeah, probably no more than you would think I would have. But needless to say, I do think Lyra is set for something big at the kind of midpoint of this year. I don't see Bayley and Lyra lasting all the way through 2026. So if we're going to the June, July kind of time frame, that's perfect timing for a Lyra Valkyria to go and do her own thing. And winning a Money in the Bank briefcase, I think, does that for her. So I would have Lyra Valkyria as your women's Money in the Bank winner. And now I think we have a completely new and intriguing kind of dynamic out there, just like we would with Aleister Black. And finally, we get to Crown Jewel. That's right. Crown Jewel is now a show where we see both the women and men's world champions face off to crown a Crown Jewel champion. You receive a ring that kind of say you're a Crown Jewel. You have this enormous title that you get to wear for one night, or 2 nights, depending on how long they stay around. But yeah, I think they're gonna be interesting. I do think both years WWE has done that. You had Liv Morgan on the women's side become the first Crown Jewel champion, along with Cody Rhodes. This past year, we saw Stephanie McMahon win it on the women's side. And on the men's, we had was it Seth Rollins this year? Yeah, I think it was. So I have Rhea Ripley as the women's, and I have Braun Breaker for the men's. I think Braun Breaker and Rhea Ripley definitely showcase to you a little bit of the future of the company, because both of them will be in both their 20s when they win this. I think people forget just how young Rhea Ripley still is. I think a lot of people forget that WWE does have a good influx of young talent. They just also have a lot of established older talent. And I do think at some point you're going to see kind of the beginning of this. I also would not be shocked if we see Gunther, if his villainous story, like if what we're seeing with Gunther right now stays all the way to Crown Jewel, I would not be shocked if Gunther wins the Crown Jewel Championship, especially if he's going up against a very loved good guy on the other side. But yeah, all in all, those are my predictions for the big matches in WWE. If you can think of any other ones, please let me know. And if you're just joining or you join in late, I had Gunther and Liv Morgan as my Royal Rumble winners. I had Braun Breaker and Stephanie Vakir as my Elimination Chamber winners. I had LA Knight and Io Sky as my King and Queen of the Ring. I had Aleister Black and Lyra as my Money in the Bank. I had Miles Bourne and Fallon Henley for my Iron Survivor. And then now Braun Breaker and Rhea Ripley as my Crown Jewel champions. Now our fun point is now we get to talk about what we think are going to be big moments in WWE. But before I get to do that, we're going to go with our last ad break, and that is our amazing Help Wanted ad. It's very quick. It's only half a minute long, but it's our guide way to ask you for help. Why? Because we want more people a part of Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. And if you want to go to turnbucklestudios.org/join, that's a way you can do it online. But if you want a little bit more of a visual intrigue, here you go. Check this out and let me know if you're interested.
A Turnbuckle Affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, video games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
One last time, that is turnbucklestudios.org/join. That is the easiest way to get involved and see if you can be a fit and you want to be a part of the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. So if that's something that intrigues you and something that you would like to do moving forward, hit us up. We'll let you know what we could work out and just what we can do moving forward. Lastly, we do have all the good, fun what ifs, possible returns, stuff like that. So let's get right into it. We mentioned Chris Jericho earlier. Yeah, Chris Jericho, I do believe, is going to be returning to the WWE in some capacity in 2026. And the big question is, who is going to be his big opponent? Like what is going to be the first thing? And whether or not I know about it or anybody can predict it, that's one thing. But the one person I would love to see Chris Jericho go up against are these two, Grayson Waller and Ethan Page. I think Chris Jericho and Grayson Waller are so cut from similar cloths that people, I think, would enjoy this. It doesn't have to be a very large interaction. It doesn't have to be a very big feud. But I do think if you want to help elevate Grayson Waller to that next step, I think Chris Jericho could be that person who can help do that. And then obviously for Ethan Page, I think the world of him. And I just think that if you have Ethan Page in the ring with more perceived main talent, that's only going to add to him and becoming a bigger star for WWE. Another report is that as soon as her contract is up, Anna Jay very well could be WWE bound in 2026. And I think Anna Jay is going to be I think if she is to join WWE, she's definitely going to start in NXT but I don't think she's going to be in NXT very long. In fact, I would love to see Anna Jay get a part of this, either Aleister Black, Zelina Vega stuff, and we kind of put Anna Jay with Zelina Vega in a tag team, or we mix her in with the female drama that is the Judgment Day. And maybe, just maybe, if we break off with Liv and Raquel, you can go with Roxanne and Anna Jay. I think that's something you can do. I also do think we're going to see the return of Saraya, aka Paige, in WWE, and I would not be shocked if maybe, just maybe, we see that closer to the summer than we do any other time. But obviously, with the Royal Rumble, you just never know, and it's always hard to predict who's going to pop up at Royal Rumble, especially when it's in Saudi Arabia this year. So that is going to be a very, very intriguing show. In terms of big moments, I do think we're going to see Gunther retire one more person in 2026. But I don't think it's AJ Styles. I think it's the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar, at SummerSlam. I think Gunther retires Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, which I believe is held in Minnesota, the hometown of Brock Lesnar. There's been reports that Brock Lesnar is looking to end his career soon. SummerSlam in Minnesota very well could be that place. I think that match needs to happen. I think it's a match that a lot of people wanted to see a few years ago. And if you're able to still do it now, strike when the iron is hot. Who I believe is going to be the last match of AJ Styles, I'm going to go with Frankie Kazarian. I think a lot of people know who Frankie Kazarian is to AJ Styles, but I don't know if the WWE universe or understands that. But I do think if AJ Styles has full control on who he picks, I think Frankie Kazarian might just be that person. So I'm picking Frankie Kazarian to be AJ Styles' last opponent. And I don't think this is a time where AJ Styles has to do the honors to a young and up-and-coming talent. I think we just got to be remembered what AJ Styles' contribution to the business was. And if you can have a feel-good moment here, I think that's all we need. Also, I wouldn't be shocked if it was the biggest working relationship example between WWE and TNA. Now, this pretty much does it for episode 108 of the Chris Parrish podcast, Perish the Thought. But I'm going to let you in on what to expect next week for episode 109. And that is this: New Era of Wrestling. Now, I wanted to find a nice little acronym for the word new. So, New Era Wrestling. But it just didn't look that great. We're going to talk about what we think this new era of wrestling for WWE will be, as we saw Gunther submit John Cena, and we saw, quote unquote, pro wrestling and sports entertainment. But more so, we saw the narrative that we are entering a new era in WWE. So let's talk more about what we think that could be next week, as the Chris Parrish podcast will be about the future on the very last edition in 2025. This has been episode 108, Perish the Thought, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who's joined in. Whether you're new to the channel, whether or not it's been a while on the channel, or you're here every week, I say thank you so much for your support. I will not see anybody really before Christmas on this. So I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I hope it's safe and enjoyable and great for every single one of you. At the end of the day, I ask everyone to be happy and be healthy, because at the end of the day, you matter. See you next week, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Rip through the clouds, faster, catch us from falling coast to